Walk into any gym, and you'll notice something immediately. Everyone's doing the same exercises, but nobody's doing them the same way. That's because the gym isn't just about fitness. It's about identity, psychology, and habit patterns that run deeper than any workout plan. You will recognize at least 3 of these types today. Maybe you'll recognize yourself. This isn't about mockery. It's about clarity. Understanding gym personalities and fitness lifestyles helps you train smarter, not just harder. Quick note before we start. If you're new to training, work with proper form and progress gradually. Injury prevention beats ego every time. Now let's break down the 12 distinct types of gym goers you'll encounter, from the quiet professionals to the chaotic beginners, and see which category you fall into. Because in gym culture, how you train says more about you than what you lift. Number 1, the silent grinder. This person treats the gym like a shift at a job they actually care about. They're not there for vibes, content creation, or conversation. They're there to execute a plan that was already set before they walk through the door. Watch them closely, and you'll notice the pattern. Same warm-up sequence, same order of exercises, same controlled rest periods. They time their breaks mentally or with a quick glance at a watch. Never a phone scroll. The headphones stay on the entire session. If they remove one ear cup, it's only to answer how many sets you got left before immediately replacing it. Their gym personality is built on discipline, not motivation. They re-rack plates immediately, wipe down equipment with fast efficiency, and never linger. There's minimal wandering between exercises because they already know what's next. This isn't shyness. This is strategy. The gym is their quiet control zone, the place where external noise shuts off completely. Many silent grinders are motivated by an internal scoreboard. They care more about beating last week's logbook numbers than impressing anyone in the room. What makes them distinct in modern gym culture is their complete absence from the content ecosystem. No filming, no mirror checks, no flexing for validation. Just sets, reps, and progressive overload tracked in silence. They're often introverted by nature, but not always. Some are simply focused individuals who've learned that silence equals performance. Psychologically, this training style often serves as stress management. The session becomes clean time where life's complications can't follow. The silent grinder has the best track record for long-term consistency because their training habits don't rely on social energy or external validation. They show up regardless of mood, regardless of who's watching, regardless of motivation levels. If you've ever felt the gym is the only place your brain goes completely quiet, you're this type. Number 2, the social butterfly. The gym is their third place. Part training facility, part community center, part therapy session. They don't just work out, they circulate. Walk in during peak hours and you'll spot them immediately. Greeting staff by name, waving across the room, stopping mid-set to catch up with someone they haven't seen since Tuesday. Their workout stretches 2 hours when it should take 90 minutes. Not because they're doing extra volume, but because conversation has become the rest timer. Watch their movement patterns and you'll notice they jump between stations based on who they're talking to, not what their program says. They're always between sets, even when they haven't started the set. Body language stays open, facing outward instead of inward toward the equipment. They smile frequently, make eye contact easily, and somehow know the personal details of people who started training last week. For the social butterfly, the gym isn't just about gym habits. It's about relationships that keep them accountable. They need social reinforcement to stay consistent. Take away the community, and their attendance drops within weeks. But here's what people miss. Social butterflies often last in fitness longer than hyper-intense loners because their habit is anchored to people, not willpower. They're natural connectors who introduce strangers, celebrate other people's PRs, and create the atmosphere that makes commercial gyms feel less sterile. The downside? If training becomes secondary to socializing, progress slows. Not because they're lazy, because attention is split. But they're rarely bitter about it. They came for the people as much as the gains. And on rough days, that's exactly what keeps them showing up. If the gym is where you feel most like yourself socially, you're this type. Number 3, the program hopper. They're addicted to novelty, specifically in training structure. The program changes before it is time to work. Every Monday is a fresh start with a new split, new exercise selection, new methodology. They use trending language fluently. Optimal, science-based, shock the muscle, new stimulus. But execution stays inconsistent. Their phone is filled with saved routines, screenshots of workouts, and purchase templates that never make it past week 2. The pattern reveals itself in their exercise menu. Different movements every session, constant variation, zero mastery. They never stay long enough to experience the uncomfortable middle phase where progress requires refinement instead of novelty. This isn't laziness. It's overmotivation combined with undercommit. Program hoppers aren't unmotivated. They're paradoxically too excited about the idea of training without committing to the boring reality of repetition. Psychologically, this behavior serves multiple functions. First, it's novelty-seeking as emotional protection. If results don't materialize, they can blame the plan rather than their adherence. Second, it's decision paralysis disguised as exploration. The internet made infinite training programs available, creating an illusion of choice that old-school lifters never faced. When you only knew 3 programs, you accidentally built consistency. When you know 300, you can justify switching forever. Program hoppers often possess impressive theoretical knowledge about training methodologies and gym culture. They can discuss volume landmarks, periodization schemes, and stimulus-to-fatigue ratios. What they struggle with is the unglamorous truth. Mediocre programming executed consistently beats optimal programming executed sporadically. They're stuck in perpetual research mode, always discovering better approaches before proving the current one works. The irony is that their best attribute, curiosity and willingness to learn, becomes their limitation. They collect information, but never build a constraint necessary for progress. Every new influencer, every new study, every new trend becomes justification to restart rather than refine. If you've ever felt more excited by the idea of training than training itself, you're this type. Number 4, the mirror addict. Their workout is inseparable from visual feedback. The mirror isn't supplemental equipment. It's the primary judge of every set. Station selection depends on reflection quality. They choose the cable tower by the mirror, grab dumbbells in a good light, position themselves for optimal angle assessment. Between sets, during sets, sometimes mid-rep, they check. Not for form, for appearance. More time gets spent adjusting clothing than adjusting technique. They pose without calling it posing. Casual biceps check, quick side chest, shirt tug, waistband adjustment. The training splits reveal priority. Mirror muscles dominate frequency. Arms, chest, shoulders get hit harder and more often than legs or back. Not because those are the most important for gym habits or strength development, but because those are what shows in reflection. This isn't purely vanity, though it looks like it from the outside. Often it's insecurity, self-monitoring, or comparison sensitivity manifesting through constant visual check-ins. The mirror becomes a feedback loop. Check, judge, train harder, pump up, check again. Mood fluctuates based on pump quality, and lighting more than actual performance. Same physique under different lighting can trigger completely different emotional responses, which is why mirror addicts experience body dysmorphia moments without being clinically disordered. Pump dependence runs deep. They feel small when flat, good when engorged with blood. The entire training session builds toward that temporary inflation, the brief window where they look how they wish they looked permanently. It's exhausting psychology wrapped inside what appears to be simple narcissism. The gritty truth? Many people trapped in this pattern can't remember the last time they evaluated a session based on performance rather than appearance. Strength gains, endurance improvements, technique mastery. These metrics get ignored in favor of visual assessment that changes by the hour. If your mood shifts based on lighting and pump more than what you actually accomplished, you're this type. And if that stings to read, it's because recognition cuts deeper than criticism. Number 5, the ego lifter. They train like every set is an audition. The weight on the bar matters more than the quality of the rep. Watch them load plates. It happens fast and heavy, often with minimal warm-up. Technique becomes inconsistent as the numbers climb. Reps change shape, range of motion shrinks, compensatory patterns emerge. They gravitate toward lifts that look impressive in public spaces. Bench press, heavy partial movements. Machine stacks slam with dramatic volume. Set rituals become theatrical. Pacing before the lift, aggressive psyche-up sequences, thigh slapping, exaggerated breathing patterns. Sometimes they accidentally position themselves where people are watching before attempting the top set. This isn't necessarily conscious manipulation. It's status-driven behavior integrated into their training psychology. The gym becomes a place to reclaim power and be seen. Reflecting on this pattern reveals something worth considering. Ego lifting is often compensatory. Strength numbers provide a shortcut to self-worth when other areas feel uncertain. It's not always toxic. Many lifters start here and mature into mastery as their relationship with training evolves. The intensity that fuels ego lifting can produce short-term progress when volume and effort are high. Where they struggle is long-term. Without developing technique refinement or recovery habits, the aggressive approach eventually leads to plateau or injury. What's interesting about this gym personality is how it intersects with gym culture broadly. Ego lifters often thrive in environments that reward performance over process, where numbers displayed matter more than movement quality. They're products of a system that celebrates visible achievement, the 3-plate bench, the 4-plate squat, without equally celebrating the invisible work of mobility, control, and longevity. The respectful insight here isn't that ego lifters are wrong. It's that they're operating from a specific set of values that prioritizes external validation over internal development. For some, that phase is temporary. They learn through experience that chasing numbers without respecting form creates diminishing returns. For others, it becomes identity. They'd rather be the person who lifted it badly than the person who didn't lift it at all. If you care more about what the plates say than what the rep looks like, you're this type. And maybe that served you well so far. Or maybe it's the exact reason you're stuck. Number 6, the New Year starter. Let's be blunt. Their motivation is real, but their expectations are fantasy. They sprint a marathon and wonder why they can't breathe by mile 3. January hits and they arrive with fresh gear, ambitious goals, and enthusiasm that could power a small city. The first week feels electric. They try everything. Long workouts, high training frequency, drastic nutrition changes, aggressive calorie cuts, supplement stacks they don't understand. They love the soreness. They interpret pain as progress. They post about the transformation that's coming. Then life friction arrives. Sleep deprivation from a new schedule. Hunger from undereating. Time management collapse when work gets busy. Social pressure when friends want to hang out instead of meal prep. And most devastating, boredom, not monotony. The grind of consistency when inspiration fades and training becomes just another task. The attendance pattern tells a story. Strong for 2 to 4 weeks, then gaps start appearing. 1 missed session becomes 2. 2 becomes a week off. The week becomes, I'll restart Monday. Here's what people misunderstand. The issue isn't laziness. It's mismatch between motivation and systems. New Year starters rely on feeling inspired instead of building routines that function on normal days when motivation is absent. They set identity goals. New me, complete transformation, without process goals like 3 sessions per week for 8 weeks regardless of results. They mistake intensity for sustainability and commitment for competence. The gym culture around New Year's makes this worse. Overcrowded facilities, judgment from veterans, content creators mocking resolutioners. It creates hostile conditions for someone already overwhelmed. What the New Year starter needs isn't more motivation. It's less ambition and better structure. Smaller goals, simpler plans, realistic timelines. The irony? If they survive long enough to replace excitement with structure, they can become the silent grinder, the person who shows up regardless of feelings. If you restarted the gym more times and you've stayed consistent, you're this type. And that's fine. Most people are. The question is whether you'll recognize the pattern or repeat it. Number 7, the over-researcher. They know everything except how to keep it simple. Walk up during their rest period and they'll explain RIR calculations, periodization schemes, volume landmarks, stimulus to fatigue ratios, all while their actual training session looks chaotic and uncertain. They spend more time tweaking spreadsheets and training apps than pushing genuinely hard sets. More time reading studies than executing basics. Watch them between exercises. They're often changing variables mid-program, because they discovered a better way on some podcast or forum thread. Exercise order gets obsessed over. Micro angles on movements. Perfect rep tempos. Meanwhile, sleep is inconsistent and protein intake is guesswork, but those aren't interesting enough to optimize. They have paralysis by analysis. They want certainty before acting, perfection before starting, optimization before execution. The sarcasm writes itself here. They're pursuing optimal with religious devotion while ignoring that the best lifters usually do fewer optimal things and more consistent things. They'll debate whether Romanian deadlifts or stiff-leg deadlifts are superior for hypertrophy, while skipping deadlift variations entirely for 3 months because they couldn't decide. They know 10 methods, but execute none long enough to see results. Psychologically, this is anxiety disguised as intelligence. Research becomes a safety blanket. If they know enough, maybe they can outsmart uncertainty and avoid wasted effort. It's perfectionism masked as curiosity. If it's not optimal, why bother? But training doesn't work that way. Training rewards showing up imperfectly over studying perfectly. The over-researcher often has impressive theoretical literacy about fitness lifestyles and bodybuilding culture. They can cite studies, quote coaches, reference influencers. What they lack is humility about what actually matters, doing basic movements consistently, eating enough protein, sleeping adequately, and not quitting when progress slows. All the knowledge in the world doesn't replace 1 year of boring repetition. If you've learned 10 new training methods and executed none for long enough to prove they work, you're this type. Maybe put the research down and pick the weight up. Number 8, the minimalist veteran. They look calm because they've done the same essentials for years. No drama, no chaos, just repeatable work that compounds quietly. Their exercise selection is small, maybe 5 to 10 staples rotated across months, and they've learned every detail of how those movements should feel. Warm-ups are smooth and efficient. They never look rushed, never look panicked, never look lost. You won't see them chasing the heaviest weights in the room. They're not competing with anyone except last month's logbook. But watch their reps. Clean, controlled, deliberate. They finish with just enough accessory work. Not zero, not excessive, then leave. No lingering, no extra sets just because. No ego-driven extensions. They train at the same time on the same days. The routine has become automatic, which frees mental energy for everything else in life. Understanding this gym personality requires recognizing what they replaced, motivation with identity. Training is just what they do, the way some people drink coffee in the morning. It's not a battle anymore. It's not a statement. It's maintenance of a system that works. They understand progress is cumulative and boring. They value longevity and joint health without turning it into fear or excuse-making. The minimalist veteran often has the best physique per minute spent in the gym because they don't waste energy on nonsense. They learned decades ago that chasing novelty, complexity, and perfection produces worse results than repeating simple patterns with gradual progression. Their gym habits reflect hard-won wisdom. Less is usually more. Consistency beats intensity, and simplicity is sustainable. What's beautiful about this type is how they make training look easy without diminishing its importance. They're not dismissive of people doing more. They've just found their equilibrium. They've survived the phases of obsession, burnout, injury, and confusion. What remains is clarity. They know what moves a needle and what doesn't, and they've made peace with doing only what's necessary. If you'd rather be consistent for 10 years and intense for 10 days, you're this type. And if you're not there yet, but you're tired of the chaos, this is where you're heading. It takes time to become the minimalist veteran. You can't shortcut to simplicity. You have to earn it through experience. Number 9, the hardcore traditionalist. They believe modern fitness got soft, and they're here to prove it. Basics are religion. Barbells, dumbbells, chins, dips. Machines are acceptable but never foundational. They talk about earning food and paying dues in the gym with intensity that borders on combat. New equipment is viewed with suspicion. Complicated setups get dismissed. They respect old-school simplicity. Heavy compounds, classic assistance movements, straightforward progression schemes that don't require apps or algorithms. Watch them train, and you'll see gritty determination. High effort, minimal complaining, zero tolerance for excuses. They push through discomfort that would make others quit, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they believe suffering builds character. Rest periods are short. Sets are completed even when form degrades slightly. The gym is where discipline gets practiced, where weakness gets confronted. Their psychology is built around values. Toughness, tradition, hierarchy. Respect is earned, not given. They're often nostalgic, sometimes identity protective. My way works because it worked for decades. This creates rigidity. They can be resistant to new information, not from ignorance, but from loyalty to methods that built them. Tell them about periodization apps or heart rate variability tracking, and they'll respond with stories about lifters from the 70s who built incredible physiques with barbells and willpower. What people miss is that many traditionalists are secretly methodical. What looks like chaos, yelling during sets, aggressive training, pushing to failure, is often a very consistent set of rituals performed with precision. They're not reckless. They're committed to a different definition of intensity. In gym culture, they're the ones who remember when training was simpler, harder, and somehow more honest. The hardcore traditionalist isn't wrong about basics being the foundation. Where they sometimes struggle is recognizing that progress doesn't require punishment, that new methods can coexist with old principles, and that evolution doesn't mean abandonment. But their intensity and commitment to fundamentals often produces results that speak louder than arguments. If you believe the basics are the basics for a reason and everything else is distraction, you're this type. Number 10, the anxious beginner. They're not weak, they're overloaded. The gym is a socially intense environment filled with unspoken rules, equipment they don't understand, and people who look confident doing things that seem impossibly complicated. So they stay near machines or cardio because it feels safer. They avoid peak hours when possible. They hover near corners, watch others to learn technique, but also worry constantly that they're being watched and judged. Before starting a set, they hesitate, adjust equipment repeatedly, second-guess form even on simple movements. There's silent panic underneath the calm exterior. Too many choices, too many people moving with purpose while they feel lost. The gym feels like an exam they didn't study for, and everyone else seems to know answers they don't. This isn't about physical capability. It's about social anxiety combined with low gym literacy. The fear isn't pain or effort. It's embarrassment, making mistakes publicly, using equipment wrong, breaking unstated etiquette, getting in someone's way, looking foolish. These concerns dominate their mental space more than the actual workout, which makes every session exhausting in ways that have nothing to do with training stress. Here's the calm truth. Everyone was the anxious beginner once. Every confident person in that gym had a first day where they didn't know how to adjust the bench or whether they should wipe equipment before or after use. The difference is time and repetition. Once basic competence develops, learning a simple program, understanding gym etiquette, recognizing that most people are focused on themselves, confidence grows quickly. The anxious beginner often becomes the most consistent lifter years later because they remember how hard it was to start. They develop empathy for others struggling. They understand that showing up despite discomfort is the real work, not the exercises themselves. If the gym feels like a test you're unprepared for, you're this type, and that's temporary if you let it be. Number 11, the lifestyle athlete. Their training is only the visible piece. The real work is everything orbiting around it. They show up with water, snacks, maybe a pre-planned post-workout meal already packed. Sleep isn't negotiable. They talk about it casually, the way other people mention the weather. 8 hours minimum, tracked loosely but protected fiercely. Their warm-up is thorough. Cool down happens, and they leave before they're completely fried because tomorrow matters as much as today. You won't see them chasing random PRs when recovery is compromised. If sleep was bad or stress is high, they adjust intensity rather than push through stupidly. They make decisions with the whole week in mind, not just the current session. Training is integrated into life, not fighting against it. Gym habits are one component of a larger system. Nutrition dialed in, hydration consistent, stress management practice, recovery prioritized. Watch their calendar, and you'll see logistics that would impress a military planner. Meal timing, training windows, work commitments, social obligations, all mapped with precision. They're systems thinkers who understand trade-offs. Missing one workout isn't catastrophic because the monthly average stays consistent. Having one indulgent meal doesn't derail anything because the weekly protein target is already hit. They think in patterns, not moments. This gym personality often gets mistaken for naturally fit people, but there's nothing natural about it. It's logistics, planning, and discipline applied across multiple domains simultaneously. They build identity around capability, not just looking good, but performing well in life broadly. The gym supports that mission rather than defining it. Their fitness lifestyle includes things non-athletes never consider: deliberate deload weeks, mobility work that doesn't feel productive, saying no to social events that conflict with recovery, eating when not hungry because the schedule demands it, training lighter when the body signals fatigue even though the program says heavy. It's simultaneously chaotic, managing 10 variables at once, and disciplined, refusing to let any single variable collapse. What makes this sustainable is integration rather than obsession. Training enhances life instead of consuming it. They're not bodybuilders sacrificing everything for physique. They're people who realize that optimizing physical capability improves every other area: work performance, mood stability, relationship energy, mental clarity. If your progress comes from your calendar more than your motivation, you're this type. Number 12, the ghost. You barely see them, but they're always progressing. They train outside the social ecosystem entirely. Early mornings before the crowd arrives, late nights after everyone leaves, midday lulls when the gym feels empty. These are their windows. Minimal interaction, no drama, no lingering. They use the same stations every session because they know the flow and want zero friction. Their routine is disciplined and efficient. They enter, execute, and exit quickly. No post-workout hangout. No chatting between sets. No group photos or social content. The gym is a private ritual, and they prefer invisibility. Sometimes they look surprisingly strong for people you've never noticed before. That's because they've had years of uninterrupted consistency building capacity, without anyone watching. Psychologically, ghosts operate from high autonomy. They don't want social energy involved in training. The gym serves a specific function, and adding interpersonal dynamics would complicate what should be simple. This is an antisocial behavior. It's boundary protection. They've learned that training alone at odd hours removes variables that disrupt focus. Many ghosts are also schedule-driven rather than preference-driven. Work shifts, family responsibilities, or personal rhythms push them toward unconventional times. But over years, that inconvenience becomes advantage. They avoid gym politics entirely, never wait for equipment, and keep training simpler and more sustainable because there's no one to impress or compete with. The ghost gym culture is no culture, just consistent execution in solitude. They don't participate in trends, don't follow fitness influencers obsessively, don't debate training methods online. They found what works through trial and error, then repeated it until it became automatic. Their progress comes from unglamorous repetition performed when no one's looking. What's remarkable is how effective this approach proves long-term, without social comparison, ego lifting, or external pressure. They train at precisely the intensity their bodies can handle and recover from. Without distraction, they accumulate volume that compounds into real strength. If you treat the gym like a secret mission, you're this type. 12 types, infinite variations. You probably saw yourself in multiple categories. Most people exist somewhere between these archetypes rather than fitting one perfectly. The gym reveals more about our psychology than our physiology. It shows who we are when nobody's grading us, when motivation fades, when discipline gets tested. So which one are you? Drop a comment and let me know. Be honest. This isn't a judgment zone. And if you're a blend of several types, that's normal. We evolve as our relationship with training matures. If this breakdown helped you understand gym personalities better, hit that subscribe button for more sharp, honest content about fitness culture and training mindsets. Now get off YouTube and go train.